Live. Welcome to episode 8 of Breaking Ancient News. It is Sunday, October 19th, and we have an excellent jam-packed show. There's been a ton of amazing things happening relating to ancient history. We're super excited to dive in to all of this. First, I want to introduce my co-host. We're joined today by Dave Floyd, who is the co-host of Mike and Dave's Multiverse and a fan of all things ancient history.
Hey guys, 3i Atlas, where to go? When is it coming back? And more importantly, how can we see it? Also, writing invented in Europe over 1,000 years before cuneiform. Let's talk about it later. And Spencer in the comments, she's not allowed to win another hat again. So let's really go hard in the comments, everyone.
Appreciate it. And up next, we've got Cody McDonald. He is a storyteller, researcher, explorer, and host of the East 10 Outpost.
What's happening, everybody? Glad to be on for another Sunday. Appreciate Rue stopping by to check out my new video drop today. So thank you for everybody who checked that out. And yeah, let's have a wonderful show. There's some pretty fascinating topics today.
Wonderful. I, of course, I'm Aaron Hines over at the Megalithic Mystery. I'm a general crazy person that's been running around exploring, looking for evidence of a lost Ice Age civilization. And our guest host today, we are super excited to have our very first guest host, first of many, many great guest hosts that's going to be joining us on this show. Sam Urban, also known as Illegitimate Scholar on YouTube. He is an anthropologist, researcher, content creator, and what I would say is a moderate voice of balance between the mainstream and the alternatives like us. Welcome here, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, man. I was just telling you this before. I'm not quite an anthropologist by most people's definition. I've asked before. It's not like a protected term. Like, it's not like Champagne. It's only from the Champagne region of France. So you can call yourself an anthropologist. But I would generally say that someone's an anthropologist if they have a PhD or if they're like in a master's program at least. But both Flint Dibble, the Dibbler himself, he has described Mini Minuteman as an anthropologist, and he has less traditional experience than I do. He just has a archaeological field school. So
then you're totally an anthropologist in my book.
Right, but just so we're clear, it's fine to just have that or to have nothing. That's kind of the point. But the point of illegitimate scholar. But by Flint Dibble's definition, if he were to apply it fairly, I am an anthropologist. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, if one thing we can guarantee that Flint is it's honest and fair. So we definitely can call you an anthropologist then. That's great. Well, thanks for joining us, Sam. We're super excited to have you. Now for some commentary, because there's some big things happening. I've got a great list of topics here. We got a ton of stuff to cover, so let's hope that we can get through it all. But let me give you guys a quick list and a quick rundown of everything that we're going into today. We're first up going to be covering Gobekli Tepe and Kaharan Tepe. There's some that face that was excavated, and also some controversy regarding lack of excavations that we're going to get into. Cody from East 10 Outpost dropped a new video today, and it looks insane. Legend of Sleepy Hollow and some great stuff behind that. Myself over at Megalithic Mystery, between the last episode and today, I've done 4 new videos over my YouTube channel. I'm dropping 2 every single week, Tuesdays and Fridays, with my Ancient Exploration series. So I'll be getting into a brief field preview of those. Mike and Dave's Multiverse always has a plethora of excellent guests, and they're prepping up for the Quest for Ancient Civilizations conference. And speaking of the Quest for Ancient Civ conference, we're going to feature that as well and talk about 3i Atlas, because we are having doing a little teaser here for a VIP after party. We're going to be viewing or attempting to view the 3i Atlas from a telescope. Luke Caverns, of course, we've been doing some great videos and explorations. Cody's going to be covering him, and Will Brown from Incredible History may have plagiarized some things from me. So we're gonna get to the bottom of that in this episode. Dave wants to talk and show us about the first writing was potentially invented in Europe, not Mesopotamia. That's a great segment. Pillars of the Past, we've got a feature from him. We've got Aztecs potentially originating from Utah. We got a Graham Hancock article that was published. Derek Olson from Megalithic Marvels. Jeez Louise, we've got a stellar lineup of topics, as well as some quickies, some Twitter drama. The Geopolymer folks are back at it again, this time hitting up Dan Richards.
They're
They
always
left
after
me alone
Dan.
this week, so
Fighting the good fight,
that's
Dan.
great.
Fighting the good fight.
Yeah, and then some wartime stories with Dave. So this is going to be a stellar episode. Thanks for joining us today, and let's get things kicked off here with the big news. Sam, producer Sam, if you would pull up for us the number 2A, that site there. This is the big. I know it seems like it's been forever ago, but the face that was uncovered at Kaharan Tepe, that was carved into the stone pillar. Are you able to throw that up there, Sam? Might have missed her here. Oh, looks like it's working. There we go. Perfect. So if you could just scroll down with me, and we can kind of read through this here a little bit, take a look at some of these faces. So this is the thing that's been blowing up the news. Everybody's had an opinion on this. Who does this look like? What does this look like? You keep scrolling there, Sam. We could just run through it here real quick. But it's it's on a T-shaped pillar. It was just uncovered and photographed and published on the Ministry of Culture by the Turkish Ministry of Culture a few days ago. And they say there's lots of claims about it. There's lots of claims that it was in a home, in a residential area. A lot of stuff that's happening there at Kaharan Tepe. And it's just fascinating to see this pillar. It's because it's a new discovery. It's something that we really haven't seen before. And it's got, man, that face on there. There's a lot of interesting opinions about the face. Dan the Dig Dunker said it looked like Mr. T. I kind of happen to agree with him a little bit. But it's really cool when we see this type of stuff happening, these excavations happening. So somebody that's had a little bit more experience in the field, and at least in the education part of it, Sam, what does this kind of thing indicate that's happening over at Kaharan Tepe? You got an opinion on it?
I mean, it's like not much on its own, frankly.
Mhm.
Archaeologists love to expand from a lot of nothing. If you're just referring to this artifact right here, but broadly, the existence of a broader culture, they have a name for it now. But at these other sites besides Gobekli Tepe, it points to a broader culture at the time of Kaharan Tepe and Gobekli Tepe, and this is like 12,000 years ago and a little bit after that. And there's nothing new necessarily very recently, but just the existence of a broader culture at this point in time. Broader in the sense of literal landmass that they covered. It kind of changes the archaeological timeline in a lot of ways, which is fine. New information, we take it in, but the big difference is that it kind of comes out of nowhere. I don't know how deep I want to go into this or how much you want me to go into it, but there are questions surrounding like who built these and where. Obviously, the alternative people point to some pre-Younger Dryas Ice Age civilization. And to me, the idea that this level of building would come out of absolutely nowhere is a surprise. That they start building so intricately. The other thing that I would want to say is that the fact that it was built by hunter-gatherers, which is the official narrative, is one that does go against our historical understanding of hunter-gatherer culture and what they're capable of doing. It's certainly possible, but it's not something we've seen before.
Yeah. Those are some great points, and I think you bring up a lot. Yeah, so for people that aren't aware, for our listeners that aren't aware, the claim by mainstream really is that the first civilization kind of started in the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia area, around 6,000 years ago, 4,000 BC-ish, where Gobekli Tepe and Kaharan Tepe were. Now, I believe there's some controversy about this, but buried is the correct term, but people say intentionally buried.
Intentionally, that's the official.
At around 12,000 years ago, so post-Younger Dryas period, like end of Younger Dryas. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, and they're identifying it as, I believe, the Tas Tepler civilization is what they call that whole wider area.
Yeah.
And in our lifetime, we've seen it go from it's just this one ceremonial structure where hunter gatherers would have, met up to, the uncovering of now an entire civilization's worth of finds. So I love seeing it. Even if it in and of itself, it's just one T-pillar. That's progress. So I love seeing it. It's better than the 100-year thing.
Yeah. Hey, Sam, you can pop that, producer Sam, you can pop that thing down there. Because we're going to move on to the
similar
next segment
comment.
here. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Similar comment, just agree with Cody. It's just a little bit of progress. I mean, that place is going to be really fun for the next 20 years or so. So with lots of stuff coming out of there.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting, and it's all in relation to the as we said earlier, the Tas-Templar civilization, and it's interesting that there's this dynamic that we have. It seems of like there are current excavations happening at Kaharan Tepe, but Lee Clare, who's in charge of Gobekli Tepe, which is the larger and more famous site, is, I don't want to say slow playing things, but his being accused of slow playing things and not being an active participant in pressing forward the work of archaeological exploration. Producer Sam, if you could pull up 2C there for us.
I wouldn't be allowed to do my job as slow as he's allowed to do his job. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Cody, you're not a government employee though, so
yeah, that's true. So, you fail upwards around there. I forgot about that. Good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we got that? We got that getting that pulled up there, producer. There we go. Maybe just might be a little bit slow on my end to load here. Scroll up to the top there, would you, for us, of the top of the tweet? All the way up there. And this is 2C, right? Okay. So, oh man, I'm having a hard time reading this, but it says from Jimmy Croncetti here, you can't make this up. Anthropologists, we don't really need to excavate Gobekli Tepe. So this is a tweet that Lee Clare is saying is that some potentially new technology, with some potentially new technology, that they might actually not need to go down there and perform some of the excavations. So a lot of people chimed in on this. If you could scroll down a little bit for me so we can get to some of the comments here. So Illegitimate Scholar says, 1 point. I'm going to pull this up here on a different screen. Bear with me for just 1 second. It's just a little tiny on my screen where I'm trying to read it here. So give me just
this guy.
one.
I'll tell you, he does himself absolutely no favors on X.
Who are you talking about?
Lee Clare, like a buddy of his should be like, "Hey, my man."
Yeah, he says some weird things for sure, and makes some weird statements, and engages in a lot of petty bullshit with internet trolls, as well as people that have legitimate things to say. But I think we pulled up the wrong one here, Sam, on 2C, not 2E. But give me just 1 sec. I'll pull up the other site here. Just
it has
bear
been
with
funny
me, folks.
though to watch the back and forth because he definitely does himself no favors.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me read it here now that I got it pulled up here. So Lee Clare saying, I'm going to read this first piece here. What if the whole point of non-invasive archaeology was exactly not needed to need destructively excavate everything in order to gather new information about ancient sites? Lee Clare commented 100% on that. And then Jimmy Corsetti said, you can't make this up. Archaeologists, we don't actually need to excavate Gobekli Tepe. They're now advocating that excavations are invasive, destructive, and pointless. Unbelievable. They're stones buried in dirt. Why don't you want to do your jobs? But then this is why I called our good friend Sam Urban here the voice of balance, because Sam chimes in here. He says, 1 point, archaeological excavation is destructive, as in you have to destroy the site to excavate it. The thing is, it's literally taught to freshman anthropology students. But if the site is buried, it's not worth anything to anyone. That's why we excavate anyone. So stupid they want to protect the site to have it just sit in the ground. Jimmy then replies, let me make a counterpoint. Exactly what destruction has occurred at Gobekli Tepe within the approximately 10% they have excavated? Sam responds, illegitimate scholar, the site, like digging down and excavating destroys the site. The point that they're making, and archaeologists in general make, is that you can only excavate once and you have to do it right. Jimmy, of course, responds in kind that they should have used modern tech, blah, 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 blah. And then Sam gets back in here and says, there's a huge difference here that I think is important and useful to know. Would love to talk to you more about this. But this is what I wanted to highlight here. Archaeologists today care a lot more about the material culture, charcoal bones, and their orientation, like surveys and comparisons of sites in a similar area where, for example, bones of deer are found at 40% frequency of animal bones, 60% turkeys, another site 15% deer, 50% turkeys, 35% fish. These are jokes that archaeologists just study trash because they love to study midden heaps today, trash heaps. Where these things, are found is also important. This information is also useful. It's the information they want to protect more. While archaeologists do care about the symbology on the T-pillars, they care less about that, in my opinion. But I think they'd agree about for the field in general. These things are not destroyed, but the objects in this trash in the ground are through excavations. I think this is really helpful for you to understand when looking into this stuff, and let me know if you want to talk more about it. Sam, I love that point because it's something that a lot of people that don't have a formal education in this and aren't intimately familiar with a lot of the details of what happens during excavation work, they just assume that people are just going down there looking for, pottery shards, trying to excavate, whatever bones they can find and rocks they can find. But there's so much more that's intricate. They care about so much more. As you said, the placement of the frequency of animal bones in relation to human bones, or the trash heaps, where they were putting in the trash, what types of foods they were eating, what types of foods they were digesting, like the orientation, whether the bones were intentionally buried or not. Like all of these things are so vitally important, but they don't grab headlines. And they don't make big statements. They don't make, big news like that big face on Kaharan Tepe did. But they're still vitally important. Could you talk to us a little bit about that and a little bit about how the interaction there with Jimmy?
Yeah, this is also why I call PhDs my data monkeys sometimes, and why I don't want to have I don't want to get a PhD.
For
A
sure.
lot of, especially of people who are like detractors of mine, um, they often think that. By the way, I have in my profile that I'm a master's in MA dropout. My MA was in education, not anthropology. I didn't drop out of an anthropology. I never wanted to do anthropology grad work, maybe a master's eventually, but never a PhD, because they study one thing for 7, 8, 9 years. And, the field's relatively young, like, depending on how you define it, maybe 120, 130, 140 years. And the precursors to it are older than that. But the PhDs that they're down to now they're very specific, and the field has changed, and that's good and bad. And it has traits, and that's fine. But these things are important. Like, I'm not diminishing these things. I do use this type of data, especially in aggregate. A big part of it is showing change over time, like showing patterns of what people were eating or their burial patterns over a period of time. And you can only get this through very accurate survey work. So when you're doing an excavation, you're going in 1 meter squares, you're going down 10 centimeters at a time, and you're meticulously annotating what's there. And you're putting the artifacts that you find in individual bags. They're all meticulously categorized. And it's not as glamorous, right? But it is still important. But also, it's the iconography and the symbols. That's also very important. But it is, what I think most archaeologists would agree with me, is not as important anymore. But it's important to know what they are valuing and what they're talking about when they're saying destructive.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave, what are your thoughts about this? What are your thoughts about the excavation or lack thereof? Because I know that you've got some pretty interesting opinions about it.
Well, I have an article that I have highlighted for later on in the show, just for towards the end, kind of quick hitters, about what, like, a real archaeological excavation and survey looks like, and the type of data you can get from it. Because I wanted to just show an example of that, and this is it's related to Karnak. It's a new study, but I just wanted to show sort of the years worth of like grunt work that goes into that sort of stuff, and the limited amount of actual information you're actually able to extract from it. And so I wanted to say that first, but as far as like excavations at Gobekli Tepe go, it's hard for me not to put my tinfoil hat on with Jimmy sometimes, but
that's what I like to hear.
Because I want, out of pure curiosity, I want to know what's there, man. I want to know what's under there. Like every little tidbit, like a Mr. T under the sand is like exciting for me. So let's go, bring it on.
Yeah. Sandy brought up some excellent points there about all the tiny, tedium.
Yeah, I'm not arguing against faster excavation, by the way, at all. I want more excavation, but I think that we like the collective, everybody that's in the alternative should understand what they value.
Yeah,
like it's not like there might be a level of spite to it, to be honest, but it's not like Lee Claire is doing this out of spite. There's a level of arrogance. I also don't think that there should be I don't think that archaeology should have a monopoly over our past. Unfortunately, that's kind of what we have to do, because we can't just split up and let the alternative people like give the History Channel half of Kaharan Tepe and Gobekli Tepe. We can't do that. So unfortunately, they effectively do at least have a monopoly over the site, even if they don't have a monopoly over our understanding of our past in our minds.
So there's an article that Graham Hancock posted. It's not by him, but we're going to talk about it later, that I think is the beginnings of a discussion on how to fix this problem and marry these two sides, which I feel is something we can work towards. So.
Yeah. Well,
good luck. I would be the person to do it, but absolutely not. No, it's I hope so, but
I think it's going to take one side to have to break. There's going to have to be some crazy evidence that's like indisputable, and one side's just going to have to finally just break. It's going to be difficult.
It is arrogance more than malevolence, I think, in most cases.
How about 150 plus peer-reviewed papers for Younger Dry's impact hypothesis? How about that?
Yeah, and that's still the very controversial theory.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could sit here and spend all day talking about Kaharan Tepe and Gobekli Tepe. There's a lot of great stuff. I know we want to get to a bunch of stuff, but we want to know what you guys think. I know we forgot to talk about it earlier in the show, but I'm bringing it up right now. Drop a comment, because each week the top comment each week gets an or will win this free hat. We're gonna autograph it, and mail it to you wherever you're at in the world. Which sucks, because I've mailed a hat to Scotland and England and Canada, and they are just really hitting us with tariffs this time of year.
Let's get Rubate a hat, everyone. Let's make Aaron send $50. Rubate's in Australia. Let's get Rubate a hat, everyone.
Any U.S. fans, in Australia, please cut Aaron a break here. Come on, get we need you to be more witty.
Hey, if you're in Idaho, you'll get it hand delivered. That'll be fun. So Idaho people, drop a comment here.
What more could you want? Man,
yeah,
that's the offer.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned to the end to find out about the last week's, right?
Yeah, the winners are going to be announced at the end of this episode. Whoever won, or the winner that won the hat, we're going to have showcase them at the end of the episode. So stay tuned for that. Appreciate you the reminder, Cody. But since you're on a roll there with great ideas, I want to kick it over to you, because you just dropped a video just a few hours ago. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I saw the thumbnail and it looks fire. So tell us about it.
I'm a big storyteller, aficionado. I love it. Right. A good story just that can capture the imagination. That's my favorite. And none has ever gotten me quite like the Headless Horseman. That's my all-time favorite this year, especially. That's my pumpkin spice latte, right? I don't consume pumpkin spice latte. I consume pumpkin spice headless horseman stories. And
You dork.
it's so I decided this year, you know what? I'm going to tell it, and I'm gonna take my best swing at it. And boy, oh boy, did I bite off a lot with audio engineering, because I wanted it to be a immersive experience. So it took me 2 weeks to to get it out, but it's hot off the press. I hope everybody enjoys. And not only did I tell the story, afterwards I poke into the actual history behind the story, and there's more truth to it than I thought. So check it out, and everybody let me know what you think.
That sounds like a Y-Files episode.
It does. It
I-
really does.
I got to it before AJ did, though. So
there you go. I like it, dude. I
Speaking
like
of
it.
which,
That's
there was a
great.
new Y-Files episode. It was aliens, though, and
It was
we don't
really
do
good.
aliens on this show, but it was.
yeah,
Really
we're not going to talk about aliens. Don't worry.
Yeah, Danny, if you're there, sorry, buddy. We still love you, but we're not doing aliens.
We do still love
Yeah.
you, Danny, if you're watching. Though, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, we'll skip that there, producer Sam, and have you just pull up the next one here, because that one didn't get clipped. But if you could just go to 4B, as I said, super looking forward to all of Cody's stuff. Check out East End. Oh, and before I forget, I always forget to mention this. Everything we talk about, everything is going to be down in the description below, where there's all links to everything will be right down there. So if you have any questions about anything, let us know. All right, anyways, yeah, links will be down below. But yeah, Sam, I think we got the wrong one here. If we're looking at 4B, which is just the Megalithic Mystery page. That's all right. So anyways, on to the next thing, which we're going to talk about. A little bit of technical issues. So guys, folks at home and people watching, this is our trial run. Sam, who's joining us in the background, not Sam Urban that you guys can see on the screen. Sam is joining us in the background. Is our new producer. So this is our first time working through these things. So I appreciate you guys having patience with us. Sam's doing a killer job. And we're just going to get this all figured out and get it all smooth like butter as we go through and as we
Why
get
don't you go ahead
everything
and share
figured
it,
out.
Aaron? Right
I can share here. Yeah, bear with me for just 1 second.
there.
Yeah, so let me share this.
you know, while you get that pulled up, I'll say, man, on my last video, I think I was averaging about 30 minutes a edit for like a minute. It was it was more intensive than I
I don't have
think
the
I
patience
bargained
that.
for.
I need to
was- it
hire
was
somebody
rough.
to do that for me.
yeah. One day when I'm
Yeah, when I'm
raking
rich.
in the bucks, yeah,
There we go.
I'll hire somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
perfect.
and by the way, Aaron's been just knocking them out of the park. Every last one of these ones is
God,
like
yeah.
ones I haven't seen. I know he's supposed to talk about it, but I've been excited about it all week. So, but like, go ahead, Aaron. I'll shut up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to go into it real brief here. I'm just dropping these videos. As I said, I've spent several years living in South America, exploring the world, exploring ancient sites, and document it. So I'm just putting all my footage together finally, and throwing it in a video with a brief explanation. So I've got 4 of these that have launched since our last episode, and a ton of these that are coming up throughout the next year. So stay tuned and check out Megalithic Mystery on YouTube. But just a brief little
Knocking it
plug
out,
there, because I
buddy.
really want to send it over to Dave, because Dave's channel, Mike and Dave's Multiverse, also over on YouTube, which will be linked down in the description below. He is just cranking through doing these interviews with like A-list people in the communities that we're involved in. So Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your upcoming guests? And I think we've got some clips of some stuff too.
Yeah, I'm just grateful to be here. We celebrated our year anniversary of our show last week. Is it Sunday? Yeah. So last week with a year-long or year live stream, and it's been crazy, man. It's been crazy, and we've been lucky enough to be able to feature some of these guests and get connected to the right people. But you guys can look forward to a new series dropping called Spotlight on Sedona, which is basically promoting the Quest for Ancient Civilization conference in Sedona, Spotlight on Scottsdale, my bad, which is promoting that event, which is in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we've got William Henry, Hugh Newman, Dan Richards, Michael Button, and more coming up. First episode drops this week. I think it's William Henry. Yeah, it's William Henry. We've also got like just weekly episodes, interviews with interesting people. Joanne Ballard's coming up from the Comet Research Group. We've got Raul of Pillars of the Past, which I met him at Cosmic Summit. He's a really cool guy, and he's doing a lot of awesome work. So I'm really excited to talk to him. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here, guys. So if you could pull up 5A, this is a short of Hugh Newman doing a little preview of what he's going to be talking about at the conference. So check it out.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the winter solstice, because that's going to be like within like 2 or 3 weeks of the conference itself. The reason being is because I've been doing a digging deep into that because myself and JJ Ainsworth, my partner, we discovered this remarkable winter solstice phenomenon at Kaharan Tepe, 11,400-year-old site, southeast Turkey, not far from Gobekli Tepe, and we just discovered it almost by chance. It was one of them weird series of synchronicities and things like that that got us to this point to see it, to witness it, and it kind of blew our minds because this is like billions to one chance of it being a kind of coincidence. And the whole face, this megalithic head that's sticking out, there's what's called structure AB. The light comes through this very thin porthole stone and illuminates the head only on those few days of the winter solstice. Weird. Illuminates like a blade of light moving around, like you get a Chaco Canyon moving across its spine. It's a similar kind of thing. So we, to witness that and discover that blew our heads off, because that was, it may not.
Boom.
Awesome.
Man, that was a friggin' awesome in transition right there.
That was beautiful.
that was great.
So guys, sitting there chatting with Hugh Newman, who I've literally watched like dozens, if not hundreds of hours of his stuff, is like humbling for me. I'm just a super fan of these people and this stuff. So that's what I try to do, is I try to bring that enthusiasm to my show. And same with my my co-host Mike as well. And our producer Brittany does a bunch of behind the back scenes stuff. So shout out to her. But guys, this is going to be fun. The Quest for Ancient Civilization conference. Aaron's going, I'm going, Cody's going, Mike's going, Brittany's going. We've got a promo, if we can
Sam,
hit it really quick.
Going?
Let's take a look at it that Cody himself
so.
made. Sam, you're going?
I think so. Yeah.
I hope so.
Awesome. That's going to be great. We're going to see it
That's
there.
fire.
Sam, you're going to get a ticket to the VIP after party because you're our first guest.
Okay,
You just
December
secured
5th through the
first
7th,
admission
there
ticket.
is nowhere you need to be except Scottsdale,
Wait, that's-
Arizona.
hold on.
The Quest for Ancient Civilizations Conference is featuring speakers like AJ from the Y-Files, Gary from Nerdrotic, Jimmy from Bright Insight, Dan Richards, Mike Collins, Will Brown, and literally so many more. So don't miss your chance to be there and see all of this in person. But don't worry, if you're not going to be able to make it to Scottsdale, you're going to be able to live stream it. Link to all of that information down below. And I've got some special surprises for you, along with my buddies Mike and Dave from Mike and Dave's Multiverse, and our pal Aaron from Breaking Ancient News. So join us, join in the fun, and get your tickets now to the Quest for Ancient Civilizations Conference, December 5th through the 7th in Scottsdale, Arizona.
So listen,
Awesome.
listen, guys, my favorite part about this is if you don't have the time or money to spend, whatever it costs to fly from wherever you live and stay in a hotel and go to Scottsdale, you just don't have time, whatever, you can get a virtual pass for $99 and you'll get access to every single one of the presentations. And then in between the presentations and during the dead time, you'll get to see myself, Cody, Aaron, Mike, my co-host, as well as Gary from Nerdrotic, filling in that dead space, talking about things that are going on at the event, bringing in special guest speakers, bringing in interesting guests. It's going to be a great time. So worldviewzmedia.com, get your tickets.
Yeah, Sam, could you pull up that? It's a producer, Sam. Could you pull up that events and tours page if you got it there? But yeah, just like Dave was saying, I do not think that I have seen an event that's been put on that has this big of a lineup. Yeah, scroll down there a little bit for us so we can just see everything about it.
Cosmic Summit 2025 was set the standard, and then all of a sudden it was like they do this. And it's like what?
That's going to be an unpopular statement, but I'm going to say it. This is the most stacked lineup I have ever seen in a conference.
Close.
Yeah, 100%. And he got people that don't present. He got people like Jimmy Corsetti that I don't think he's done a live event that I can recall in my life. And
AJ never
from the
has.
Y-Files. Yeah,
He's never done it.
Yeah, like, so he's got some hard hitters in there, some great
because everybody
personalities.
loves Mike Collins.
That's on the backs of the character of Michael Collins. Is what it is.
Yeah. He's
because he is the greatest guy in the community. He really is. Facts.
Yeah, that is great. That's Request for Ancient Civ. Definitely go. Do not miss that. We're all going to be there. Sam Urban's also going to be there, it sounds like. So that's going to be the place to be, December 5th through 7th. And on that, we're doing a little teaser. There is a VIP after party hosted by Breaking Ancient News. It is VIP only, invite only. So we're going to put out some competitions to win it. But one thing that we're doing is I'm driving down from Idaho and I'm bringing my big old telescope and we're going to set it up and do a Rings of Saturn viewing party and also try to get 3i Atlas, which is supposedly going to be visible about 2 in the morning. But 3i Atlas viewing party is going to be exciting. And if you want to know more about 3i Atlas, I think I'm not the 3i Atlas guy over here, so I want to talk over to Dave because Dave's going to get us all up to date on what's been going on with 3i Atlas.
Fill us in, buddy.
Hey guys, so 3i Atlas, this is the last time we're going to be talking about this until basically our after party, okay? This thing's not going to be visible again until early December, and the conference takes place December 5th to the 7th. I believe the after party is on the 7th. We should be able to view it. Best time's going to be around 4 or 5 a.m. So if you can stay up late with us that night, but we're going to try to start seeing it pretty early. Aaron's got a sweet telescope, so I don't have to bring mine. He's going to drive his down, and we're going to take a look at some other stuff as well. And we're just going to download after a busy event. We're going to be working. So we're going to try to invite like anybody, the who's who of anybody who wants to come. And we're excited about it. So we'll stay tuned for more information about that. As far as 3i Atlas goes, just for those of you who don't know what it is, 3 stands for third of its kind. I stands for interstellar. Atlas is the telescope in Chile that discovered it. That's typically how they name stuff like this. So remember, this is the third of its kind. We've heard of Oumuamua. Most of us have not heard of Borisov, but that was the second one. And it was because it was decidedly uninteresting, whereas Oumuamua was interesting. And this one is also interesting. I know that people are probably going to be asking about this, or you've been seeing stuff about this, and I've heard stuff about this. So it's like, did they not get pictures of it from Mars when it passed by Mars? We're going to cover that. We're going to cover when's the next time we're going to be able to see it. We're going to talk about what Avi Loeb says about it. I'm going to show a quick clip of an interview I did with the smartest guy I know, talking about what he thinks it could be. And so just buckle up for that. If you could show the very first clip that I have set up. Yes, what's up?
Awesome, Sam. Thanks. You're on it.
Yep. So it should just be a clip. And this is geophysicist Stefan Burns. Check out his channel, geophysicist Stefan Burns, on 3i Atlas's perihelion. Let's go.
This is Stefan Burns here. Interstellar object 3i Atlas.
What happened?
No, we lost it there.
Yeah. Try it again.
Come back.
Yep.
Yeah, Stefan Burns has an awesome channel, guys. He's a veteran of the Multiverse as well. He joined us not a while back. And so if you want information about space, weather, that kind of thing, check him out.
Everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. Interstellar object 3i Atlas is now hurtling through the inner solar system, being within the orbit of Mars, and it is rapidly approaching its perihelion, its closest approach to the sun. And we here on Earth are now blind to 3i Atlas. We can't observe it because of the glare of the sun. We're on the other side of the sun that 3i Atlas is on. That will be exact for us, the superior conjunction of 3i Atlas, on October 21st. Its perihelion is October 29th. And so is this a space rock from far outside our solar system? Is it an interstellar comet? Is it perhaps something more than that? Is it technology or maybe even a craft? These are all questions that a lot of people have been exploring and that none of us have answers to, because
So, interesting object in a bunch of different ways. We did get pictures of it. If you could pull up, it's 7F. It's just a picture European rover got of it. It'll explain it in there. So this is basically the last view we got of it before it approaches its perihelion, and we're not going to be able to see it for about 6 weeks.
So they did get a good view of it before it left.
Sort of, like they trained everything Mars around Mars onto it, including the rovers.
Okay.
I'm about to show you the best image we got of it. It should be I went out of order. I apologize, but it should be 7F.
I got it here.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
That's the best image we got of it.
Oh, buddy, look at that.
That's the best image we got of it.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And so based on not a lot of information over the next 6 weeks, we're going to see a whole lot of speculation on this object. And I wanted to ask the chat, what have you heard what this is, this object? And then I wanted to ask you guys and the chat, alien space rock or alien spacecraft or just a weird space rock? And then while that's happening, while you guys are thinking about that, there's my friend Laird Scranton, and I can't believe I'm even saying that, but I do consider him a friend of mine. He's an expert on Dogon cosmology and one of the smartest people I know. He was posting a lot about it, so it's like, let me bring Laird on and see let's get Laird speculating on this. So remember, this is a speculation, okay? But this is what guys like Avi Loeb and him are doing when they're basically conducting a thought experiment on what this could possibly be. He's not saying what this is, and neither is Avi Loeb, and I'll get to that. If you could hit play, go ahead.
Instruction in my elementary school days, and one of the first things they taught us was when you have an open question that has multiple possible resolutions, it's the job of the researcher to sincerely entertain each of the possibilities one by one. You just start with the assumptions of that possibility and follow where they lead. And that through that process, you discover that with one of the perspectives, all of the intractable or many of the intractable obstacles seem to just evaporate. And that points you to what's probably the right answer. So when they started saying they had all these attributes of this object that didn't look like a regular comet, I started focusing on those attributes, trying to say, now, could this be technology? And if it were technology, what kind of technology would have these attributes? And then every announcement, I would test the next statement against that perspective. And it holds up as technology.
And I saw a post you mentioning about that. That was related to the primarily CO2 and nickel outgassing. Is that correct?
That's right. Well, okay. That was sort of the entry point into trying to sort out what it might be. A comet normally outgasses water, which is in the form of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, and those sublimate into solid gas. Those become the comet's tail when it approaches the sun, and normally the tail will point away from the sun. But they noticed that this object was leaking CO2 and nickel, which is not what the astronomers are used to. So it's either a really, really odd object that we don't know what it is, we've never encountered it before, or there's something else going on. So working from those two attributes first, I started performing inquiries to say, okay, what kind of an engine could drive a ship that would have the potential to be leaking those materials? And I came up with what's called a nickel CO2 plasma engine, which is actually a candidate.
There we go. A nickel CO2 plasma engine. That's a great place to stop that clip.
That's exactly where I meant to stop it. A nickel CO2 plasma engine. Okay, so I wanna be very clear here, okay, when it comes to this stuff, okay. Harvard's quote unquote Harvard's Avi Loeb dropped a bombshell in July 2025, like 2 weeks after somebody discovered this. A paper calling this, could it be an alien probe? He cites its size, speed, sneaky trajectory, but the kicker is he says in the paper that it's likely a natural comet. He's saying the same thing about this as well. Then he's doing a media tour saying all those buzzwords and stuff, and then you see the all the speculation run rampant. But unfortunately, it's just a weird comet because we don't come across these things very often. Of course, it's going to be weird. That's my take on it. I do not think it's technology, but that's just Laird having fun. So
I got to say something
I think
real
it's
quick.
definitely an alien mothership, just like Jeremy Corbell talked about. But go ahead, Cody.
Apples to apples, when you look at the guest list that Mike and Dave's Multiverse has had, it's hard to find a more stacked podcast out there. So everybody needs to subscribe because those are some pretty big bangers you've had dropping on your show. So
I appreciate
hats
that.
off to you.
I normally would never do this, but I am like 11 subscribers from like 2,000 total subscribers. So if we could just
go run
get
everybody
on there, chat.
if
Bump
you're not
down and
already.
get it.
Come on.
Yeah, he's
But,
worked his way up like Sam Urban, who did Sam Urban's also got a great channel, and he interviewed Graham Hancock.
Yep.
So, but
I
Mike
wanted
said
to ask
Dave's
Sam what his thoughts on the 3i Atlas thing was, or if he had looked into it too much, or if it crossed his sphere.
No, it hasn't. It's just not my thing. No.
No worries. Just
well, the
curious.
reason we like to talk about it is because we do, and we're going to get it into. Actually, we might. Do you want to just talk about it right now? Why don't we just pull it up right now? Producer Sam, if you could get for us, where do we have that, Dave? Oh, it's number 13. Because this deals with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. I mean,
yeah, why not? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So,
be a good time to hop into that.
Yeah, the reason we bring up the 3i Atlas in this show, even though it's a breaking ancient news show, is because a lot of us, me specifically, I don't want to speak for the rest of the guys here, but I do subscribe to the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And I think there's a lot of the ancient symbolism, potentially Serpent Mound, that is, a reconstruction or an imagery of this potential asteroid or comet impact that happened and triggered the Younger Dryas period. So that's why we like to bring up this 3i Atlas, because this is something that potentially has happened before that actually caused a lot of this controversy and caused a lot of this the destruction that happened. And we know with the Younger Dryas period there was a dramatic decrease in Arctic ice and a sharp drop in temperature for that 1,000-year period. So something catastrophic happened then, and something that required a tremendous amount of energy. Where does that energy come from? Doesn't happen out of thin air. But anyways, Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about this article here, because this ties in right with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, Graham Hancock and all this stuff that's been going on.
Yeah, and I meant to say that too. So I appreciate you connecting those dots. We talk about 3i Atlas because it's older than the entire solar system, right? And our ancients were connected to the celestial bodies that pass through, and they paid very close attention to this stuff. So it just all connects, especially with the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. But this was a very interesting article. I believe the dude's name was Chris Moore. Chris Moore. Graham Hancock published it on there. The main themes were pseudoskepticism versus true skepticism, distinguishing rigorous evidence-based inquiry from rhetorical tactics like ad hominem attacks, guilt by association, which I see all the time, unsubstantiated labels of pseudoscience, and we're talking in particular to critiquing Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And this is where I mentioned earlier, we have 150 plus peer-reviewed papers supporting Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, or comet hypothesis, or airburst, if you combine them all, right? Proving that 12,300 years ago, climate shifts happened, fires, extinctions, all kinds of stuff. There's so much evidence; it's overwhelming. So it's basically, the article is a call for ethical science, advocates for formal peer-reviewed rebuttals over derision, critiques, premature refutation, which I think is huge. Like, it's like, okay, here's something that goes against. So let's just prematurely call this guy an asshole because he dug something up that proves what I think is wrong. Is crazy.
Seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, and then it also claims and urges debate in scientific forums. So the question I have for you guys and for the chat is, how can the scientific community better distinguish pseudo-skepticism from, which is important, general critique, and what safeguards could prevent rhetorical dismissal from just cutting in, just dismissing hypotheses like younger dry symptom? I mean, it's like, how can you just do that? It seems so crazy to me at this point. So what do we do about it?
Yeah,
Sam, you first.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's have the one that's actually had some experience in the academia field to take a field at this question.
I mean, it's just for them broadly as a field to distinguish between like what would essentially be grifting and lying and what is legitimately like legitimate criticisms and people that are legitimately interested in the content and believe what they're talking about, that would be changing the way that archaeology as a field makes judgments about other people's motives, because that's really what that question is asking, is how do we figure out the motive of what someone's doing, and not necessarily the motive. I mean, it's downstream from that, but it's like, you know, somebody can be schizophrenic and very, very convinced that and not be grifting at all and legitimately believe that people came from Jupiter. But the field of archaeology and its members are not good at discerning that. And in my experience, at least the ones I talk to online, which I would argue is not the way the general field actually feels. And that is seen in the way that, you know, Graham Hancock's show had many archaeologists on it. No one ever seems to talk about that, but there were a bunch of PhD archaeologists
good ones too
on his show. So it's not like the field broadly thinks that. It's just, it's more of an online presence.
Yes.
They have to, it's communication. You're asking people that never stopped going to school, who finished high school. Most of them got their bachelor's, went to their master's, went to PhD. Some of them had a gap somewhere where they worked, but most of them never stopped going to school. And it's an emotional intelligence issue, frankly.
And would you say there's a direct relation between a high IQ and a low social IQ?
I don't know. I'm sure that is actually something that you could just check. So I don't know.
I would say there's a solution to this probably.
Yeah, I say there's a solution to this problem, and I've brought it up before, and it's, you know, just come on a tour with me and do ayahuasca, because, you know, we will get rid of that ego. All these archaeologists will get rid of that ego. We will show you the true version of yourself, and you can detach your personality and your identity from these ideas, because that's what we need to do. Yeah, that hubris, that ego, that arrogance that people have. But it's also, you know, that's that human aspect of, like, just like you mentioned, Sam, you know, these people have spent their entire lives in this field and in school, in the education process of this. Their existence, like what they do in and out every single day, is this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you have these people that say what you're doing and you're the basis for what you're running your career, your life, is built on fallacies. That's what, like, Graham Hancock is saying. And so there's a very, very big defensive reaction, negative defensive reaction to that I understand the human aspect of. But it's still just like, you know, take your time, take it in peace, analyze the information objectively, and then, you know, come to conclusions based on that. And that's what we have, you know, people have a hard time doing.
But they think they are doing that because the field only takes certain types of information, right? And there's also bias, of course, but like, they're not going to listen to certain arguments that Graham makes. Some of them are arguments about, like, they just dismiss it. But a lot of it is that, like, they're not going to take Graham Hancock's argument about about the relation to the sky, like the relation to constellations, that's inherent in a lot of these structures, because that's not a type of evidence that the field uses. Most of them, archaeoastronomy is still a very new subfield that's largely rejected.
A good one, though.
Maybe not largely rejected, but it's a newer field that doesn't have the same level of subfield, that doesn't have the same level. So it's like they're not capable. They're trained to do this, and they're not trained to view certain types of evidence as evidence. They just won't consider it.
Fascinating.
Which makes sense, by the way. It's okay for a field to have constraints like that. They have to have constraints, but it's not okay when they have a monopoly over understanding our entire human past. And they should pros and cons.
There does need to be a little finesse in science. It can't be rigid, otherwise it's not scientific. They have to be constantly open to being disproved.
Right. And they do change their minds. It's just a matter of how flexible they are.
Well, it's when they embody what they believe to the point it becomes almost a religion, that it becomes problematic. They can't, if you're making a personal relationship with those belief systems, that's a problem. It's not science at that point. So I do think a lot of the preemptive shutting down that they do, a lot of the guilty by association. Yeah, exactly. It's anti-scientific. Yeah, and that's lazy. I hate even acknowledging that in 2025 because it's so lazy. Yeah. I need you to do better. I need you to insult me in more entertaining ways than like old hat shit from like pre-2020. So I do think there is a lot of problem of them marrying themselves to their certain beliefs, and that becomes anti-scientific at that point. So
that is awesome. Thanks for those points. We're gonna try to kick along here, but Cody, it provides an excellent segue into your next subject here with Luke Caverns, because we into that separation of living in the physical. That's something that that humans were doing here on the earth, and I think you've got a few clips here about Luke Caverns talking about that as well, right?
Yeah, and I love that Luke always does a really good job drawing attention to the fact that the way we look at the world now is not comparable in any way, shape, or form to how our ancestors viewed the world. And this video, he really makes some poignant, excellent points about that exactly. So go ahead and roll that.
There was nothing other than belief systems. You witnessed your natural world and you experienced phenomena that would happen to you. You would notice cycles in the sky and cycles in nature, and humans' brains tried to come up with a reasoning for this. And all around the world, we actually see so many different cultures coming to many of the same conclusions, believing the same things, and taking part in the same practices, the same religious practices. One example in general is that there are thousands of actual religious temples all around the Maya world, as well as the Cambodian world. There was nothing other than belief system.
And he goes on to talk about like the Oracle of Delphi, its importance, all of that stuff. And just the fact that the old world really did, it's not that they just believed in their spiritual systems, they lived it in a way that we can't even imagine. The most devout religious systems today, they're really only a fraction of the way our ancestors embodied that, really believing in those things. But go ahead and play the next clip, because he goes ahead and he talks about some more stuff that
for those ancients, being religiously involved wasn't a choice.
No,
everyone was like, you were the tribe, they were that was the religion.
Exodus 12:12, and Exodus 12:12 talks about how the God of the Israelites, Yahweh, says, "On that same night I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of both people and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord." Now, what's really interesting here is at this point in my life, I had always been taught, Yahweh, the Christian God, is the only God, or I should say the Judeo-Christian is the only God.
Okay,
There are
whoa,
no
what the
other
fuck
gods
is he talking about?
in existence. And so I found it
What is the
peculiar that the
Judeo-Christian
Israelite
God?
God in Exodus is actually
Yeah, we can pause it here.
acknowledging the
He just discredited it. There is no such thing as a Judeo-Christian God. Jesus Christ is Lord, and if he's not God, it's a different God. What is he talking about? That's crazy.
Well, so that's why I wanted to highlight this, because Exodus 12:12, it is interesting that it specifically says essentially what you said, like he is the God of gods. But the fact that it even draws attention to there being gods that he is the God of, I thought it was interesting Luke would draw attention to that. So I figured I'd clip that one and see what y'all thought about it. So Sam, what you think about it, buddy?
Well, I think he negated everything. Is he Jewish? Which is fine. by the way.
No, he's not. He's
What is
at the beginning of that
Judeo-Christian
clip.
God? I've literally never heard that before in my life.
Yahweh is what he's
But
talking
that's
about.
the Jewish God. They're different gods.
Right. He's doing a
I mean,
lot
you can
of
say they're rooted in the Old Testament, but Judeo-Christian is an invention of the 1950s. If you're talking about how our ancestors felt in the past, and you're using the term Judeo-Christian, you're doing it in a ridiculously, stupidly modernist perspective. That's insane. There's just no such thing as a Judeo-Christian God.
That's true. Well, at least in terms of the well, yeah, I mean, because modern Christianity believes that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, or if you believe in the Trinity, he is the embodiment of God, which and the Jewish religion today, believes the opposite. Believes that Jesus Christ is not either the embodiment of God or the Son of God. Their Yahweh is a different figure than the one in the Christian faith.
Yeah. So it is not a thing. He just made a thing up. I've heard people talk about the Judeo-Christian ethic before, and I don't believe that that's a thing either, but you can at least make an argument. But Judeo-Christian God is not and never has been a thing. I've never heard anyone say that before.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Thanks for catching that. But now that you mention it, yeah, that absolutely is correct. As you think about it, yeah, they're two separate texts. You have to be like saying the Islamo-Christian God.
It makes literally, it actually makes as much sense as saying Islamo-Christian God.
Yeah.
You can't hear me, Dave, by the way, but no, it does. Or the Druze Christian God. It's like,
sorry, guys.
If you're saying there's no reason for Jews and Christians to have the same God, and for Christians and Muslims to not have the same God, and Christians and Druze to not have the same God.
Yeah. Fascinating.
I was muted. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. What do you got for us, Dave? What did you chime in for us?
I was just saying, I have heard people say that like a bunch of times before, but I've always found it confusing. But I think it's just a lump in, one God. It's like lumping in Judaism and Christianity.
Yeah, but why? It's
I
don't know.
I
can lump in horse shit and piss, but I don't make a sandwich out of it. What
I love it.
I don't put nails in. They're just different things. They don't go together.
Yeah, that's great.
So I thought this would inspire some good conversation.
Hindu Buddhist. Buddhism comes out of Hinduism, or the other way around. Buddhism, whatever, they're related. It makes it makes as much sense as saying that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, well, a little correction
kind of wasn't
for
the
us.
point of what he was saying, but I completely negated everything.
No, what was the point of what he was saying? I forgot.
The point of what he was saying, because I did think his gross assimilation of two pretty big religious splits at that point specifically. His point was that they acknowledge other gods, that it's one of, I believe, 3 places in the Bible where if as a Christian, which a lot of Christian are literalists, which he points out, if you were to take that as the word of God, then The Word of God is acknowledging there are these lesser gods, the gods of Egypt, the gods of Mesopotamia, so forth. So it is interesting, especially when you consider things like the books of Enoch, all of that. So that was roughly his point in all of it. But I thought it was an interesting clip and would probably get some good conversation.
What was the passage of this?
Exodus 12:12, I believe.
I'm going to go back and watch the full video just to give it a fair shake and see what
It's a good
exactly
video.
he was referring to. Yeah, I meant to watch it. There's so much stuff. That's why we created this show.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like I wish there was
Subscribe
a place
so
where
you
some
don't miss any of it.
handsome gentleman could, get you caught up to date on all the ancient news and podcasts and stuff. I wish there was a place to do that. Oh wait, here we are. That's what we're doing.
At Breaking Ancient News, everybody. Hit that
Follow
subscribe
Breaking
button,
Ancient
like,
News.
share
Drop
it out.
comments. You're going to win a free hat if you're cool enough and if your comment is likable enough.
Rubate.
Bankability, baby.
Rubate.
Not to Australia.
Bankability.
Somebody in Idaho. Please, guys, come on. You're killing me.
Oh, heading
But
down
anyways.
under.
I'll chip in there. I'll chip in there. And
Yeah, you're all good. But
gonna
we
be our
love Luke
mortgage, Dave.
Caverns. Yeah, we love Luke Caverns. Love featuring his stuff. Check out Luke Caverns. He just was on Joe Rogan pretty recently, so Luke's blowing up, doing a ton of big things.
He was on
You know what,
Julian
my-
Dory too. Very good episode.
Julian Dory.
And I
Yeah.
gotta say, my favorite thing about Luke is he actually frequently wears a shirt that says Cody on it.
Ooh.
I
Oh
understand.
yeah, Cody,
It's just-
Wyoming.
Yeah, it's just the brand or whatever. But you know what? I see that and I'm like, my man Luke, you're too kind to me. Thank you, sir. I see it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get Luke embroidered on one of my shirts and just like casually like have it in the shop one day. Just
I love it. I
see
love
you,
it.
bud.
Well, on to the next section here. I want to know what you guys think. I made a video a few months ago about the fall of the Inca
Wait a minute.
Empire and kind of. the
Wait a minute.
Civil
Wait a
War.
minute.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If Exodus is acknowledging multiple gods, if Exodus is acknowledging multiple gods by talking about bringing judgment on them, but Exodus comes after Genesis, which is the first book, which discusses one God creating everything, then why does Exodus referencing other gods somehow negate what was said in Genesis?
He wasn't saying it negates it. He was saying that it's interesting that they reference other gods at all.
Yeah, I think to not that we want to get into a big discussion about translation and etymology and the what words actually mean what words, but like if you take like the 10 Commandments, right? One of those says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," and if you take that in the context of not necessarily the Bible saying that, oh, there are also other gods, but I think modern day Christians and past Christians have interpreted that as, no, God is the God. Like, don't worship other things. Like, there isn't anything else. Don't have those graven images. Don't have those worship those idols as your gods. Because there is no other God. There is me. So thou shalt have no other gods before me. I think Luke's making the argument that he said it validates the fact that other gods exist, and I could see the flip side of it. That's just like, no, it's not validating that at all, because it's just the context of how it's written. So interesting points on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought about it the way that Luke brought it up.
Theologically, it is a interesting wormhole to kind of think about. And I think that's all he was trying to point out. Not that it validates or supersedes anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you do follow, standard
Judeo-Christian
Christianity,
God is still not a thing and never has been. I don't know where that came from.
That was a great catch. Great catch. Thanks.
Never in my life have I heard that, and it's
You've seriously never
absolutely
heard that? Have you guys
100%
heard that? You got Cody. You've
We're
heard that. Andy, you've heard
Judeo-Christian society. We're referred to as a
Judeo-Christian values.
Judeo-Christian,
But that's not
Judeo-Christian
a
values.
thing.
I'm
Like,
not saying
that
it's
is a
not
term that was
weird,
invented
but
in the
I've definitely
1950s.
heard it a bunch of times. I'm not saying
Is
it's
this
not
some
weird,
sort of
but
like
I've definitely-
southern Midwestern like?
I don't know.
What are they
Look,
called?
y'all.
I'm from a place with Catholics. We don't have this.
I grew up in Canada. I lived in
Okay,
Iowa.
there it is.
I
Luke
now,
is in
now
the
live in
comments.
Georgia.
Consequences of growing up in the deep South Bible Belt. This is a that's what this is. This
See,
is a
Luke's from
section-
Texas.
I did
Where
not.
I'm
I grew up
from-
That
in
would make
Canada.
sense.
Where I'm from, most of the people are Irish Italian. Almost everybody's Catholic here. So we don't have this idea of this Judeo-Christian thing. This is a what's the word for it? Actually, anthropology of religion is like one of my main fields. It's a dispensationalist. That's not the word I'm looking for.
You're the expert. You tell us, Sam.
It's the newest sect of Christianity that's like basically it's part of Protestantism, but not. It's strictly American. Why am I forgetting this? I've read entire ethnographies on this. The freaking God damn it!
New Age, born again.
I know
some
the
New
name.
Age bullshit.
Evangelical.
Yes.
This is
there we go.
an
Yeah,
evangelical idea. It's not a broadly Christian idea. This is an evangelical idea, and also some Baptists as well, traditional mainline Protestants. But
I'm around Southern Baptists. A lot of those.
I'm just saying. I think that he was probably just using the word for convenience, and he wasn't going that deep. With
I'm not.
It
like,
was a generalization.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's just it was so jarring to me.
It's funny. I feel like we learned something tonight.
Dude, I definitely learned something, but I'm going to catch that now because I'm going to call that out now because you're absolutely correct.
Yes, he is right.
Yeah,
Look,
Judeo-Christian God.
I'm going to at him with this clip when we're done. I'm going to at him and say, Luke, because it's going to be Twitter drama for next episode.
Don't do that because that will bring out the groypers. We don't want that. But just like
the groypers, but they're going to be there.
If you call yourself a Christian, okay, Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, whatever you are, if you believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and God, if you believe Jesus Christ is God, which to me is a prerequisite for Christianity, then absolutely 100% we do not share a God with Judaism. We just don't. It cannot be true. They are mutually exclusive. It's not a thing. And if you do believe that you as an individual, as a Christian, share a God with Judaism, you're a Jew. or you think that Jews are Christians and they're not. They are.
I think it's just being polite when you're talking about God and Jewish people around. You just say Judeo-Christian so you can include them.
I'm not going to share my God with somebody to be polite.
I think Sam's a little too educated, and before we bring out the groypers, just maybe look into what it says. What
Jesus Christ is Lord.
Yeah.
Oh man!
And
ask a Jew to say
Jewish
Christ
religion
is king.
teaches
Then you're
about
I
Jesus.
really don't. I personally don't care.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's get it.
Where are we at, gentlemen? Yeah. I had too much fun with this. Sorry, guys.
Someone just asked why I was upset.
I knew
it
would be a spicy one. But...
It's all for fun. It's all for fun, guys. Just jokes.
I mean
just
everything
jokes,
I'm saying. I'm animated. I'm not angry.
Yeah, but just jokes.
That's a good point. And you bring up a fascinating segue because Christians have been fighting over whose God and whose God is number one for thousands and thousands of years. And they've been kicking ass and doing a really damn good job of it. Specifically down in South America, they kicked a ton of ass. Proving that the Christian God, not Judeo-Christian God.
Brutal.
Oh God!
Come on.
Rough hot take.
Okay, I would like to bring up on that example. My favorite conquistador, who wasn't really a conquistador, I like to think of him as one of the first anthropologists, but Alvar Núñez Cabaza de Vaca.
De Vaca, yeah.
He's my favorite. And he was in the Mississippi River Valley, 1500s.
We got action figures now, or
the signed card.
Yeah, and he just says his whole name really quickly. Alvar Núñez Cabaza de Vaca. He was a faith healer, and let's show the power of Christ in a way that doesn't involve murdering tens of thousands of people.
Love it.
We need more dudes like him, and not the dudes that. Francisco Pizarro that went down to the fall and caused the fall of the Incan Empire. So I want to get your guys a question though. It boils down to, did Will plagiarize me about this? I don't really think so, but I think it's kind of fun because
present the evidence, good sir.
Yeah. First up, I made a video several months ago, but we're gonna play Will's first because Will's been doing some great stuff. He's doing these AI generated things with these story narratives. He's got a fantastic channel. Check it out. Let's play this clip.
As long as Atahualpa was alive, the Spaniards feared of rebellion. Pizarro originally did not want to kill him and resisted the suggestion that was being urged by his captains. But eventually, they would convince him that it would be in their best interest to do so. A trial was staged, and the charges were idolatry, treason, and the murder of his brother Huáscar. Atahualpa reportedly begged for his life as he realized what was happening. He was sentenced to be burned alive unless he agreed to be baptized, which he accepted. Instead of being burned alive, he would instead be strangled to death with a cord in the center square of Cajamarca. His death shocked the empire. As long as Atahualpa was alive,
was good there.
the Spaniards feared of...
So, okay, before we get into my clip, Will, I love you, but you are way too white in your pronunciation of this, and it was driving me crazy.
White.
Yeah, it is. And I know this is because it's a Quechua word, but it's Atahualpa, not Atahualpa, but it's Atahualpa. Listening to that, it was like nails on a chalkboard for me, but I know it's not your fault, Will. And, you know, Pizarro versus Pizarro. So anyways, Will, we're going to get you down to further south. I know you're in Puerto Rico. We're going to get you down further south and get that sexy Latin accent going for you. But yeah, let's see if he plagiarized me. What do you guys think about this? If you grab that second clip there for us. Spanish Catholics were outraged by his idolatry, accused him of treason, and sentenced him to death. On July 16th, 1533, Atahualpa was executed. Some say by garrote, others by burning after a last-minute baptism. Either way, his death sent shockwaves through the empire, creating a power vacuum that the Spanish exploited. The Inca Spanish Catholics were... So, I mean, you know, the line there sent shockwaves through the empire was, you know, like 95% of that sentence. But, you know, Will, I don't think he actually plagiarized. But Will's got some great videos. I know, Cody, you've been watching them. What do you think about these?
Honestly, I've been very impressed. He's really upped the production quality, a lot of his stuff, and even if he doesn't say Atahualpa quite as sexy as you do, I still think there's some genuine bangers. So you know, hats off to the both of you guys.
Yeah, and that's a great tale too. The story of the fall of the Incan Empire is fascinating. I mean, really, Pizarro took advantage of a situation of like a civil war between Huáscar and Atahualpa. So he just kind of came in there, kidnapped him, and then the whole entire thing collapsed. It's pretty fascinating. But check out Will's video. Also check out my video. Let me know which one you think best. Honestly, Will's is best because that was my second video I ever produced. So it's not that great, but really cool stuff from Will.
You look back and you're always like, oh, on those early ones.
Will is going to be speaking at Quest for Ancient Civilization conference, right? Isn't he? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on there. And he was also recently on Wandering Wolf's new live stream. They're going to be doing, I think, a weekly live stream with Kay.
Yeah, it was great.
Co-host.
With Kay Smith.
Mm-hmm. So check out Wandering Wolf's new live stream.
Great plug. Great plug. And then moving on to the next topic here, because this is something that I really want to cover and I really want to get some expert opinions on or non-expert opinions on from us here.
Yes, hi, I'm here for those.
Yeah, Dave, your next section here was the first writing invented in Europe and not Mesopotamia. I don't know anything about this, so fill us all in.
Yeah, so this is not breaking ancient news per se, but what I'm proposing is that some breaking ancient news, a bigger picture is about to start coming out of what archaeologists call Old Europe. Okay. So would you go ahead and hit play and then hit pause at exactly at the 30
Over 7,000 years ago, in a settlement in Southeast Europe, the partial remains of a woman were buried beneath the floor of a house, along with a collection of special objects, including broken statuettes, a delicate bracelet, and 3 small clay tablets, decorated with strange, intriguing symbols. These are perhaps the most famous examples of what is known as the Vincha symbols, after the Chalcolithic Vincha culture. This was part of what's been called...
So yeah, right there, that's the Old Europe place that I'm talking about. And it's, so you could see 6500 BC to 3500 BC. What is Old Europe, you say? Hit the next clip and then we'll talk about that.
This is new to me, so thank you, Dave. This is a good one.
You're welcome, sir. And the next clip is kind of just a continuation of what, they were showing some of the artwork, but these people in this, quote, Old Europe, they were living in a world just absolutely filled with artistic expression. Go ahead, Aaron.
That these marks could represent an early system of proto-writing, a precursor to true writing systems, possibly used for ritual or administrative purposes. But if that's true, they would predate the world's earliest known writing, Sumerian cuneiform in Mesopotamia, by more than 1,000 years. However, these extraordinary claims are challenged by others, who say they should instead be seen as potter's marks, or signs representing gods or clans, and some even assert that they don't really exist at all. So where do these symbols come from? What might they have been used for? Are they a script, or the earliest proto-writing in the world? And more importantly,
Stop.
I think...
Can you actually share that and back up onto that old Europe part where you can actually see the map there? So what's old Europe? Well, I looked it up, and essentially old Europe is a time of a new idea that I came across. It's new to me, okay? New to me. And the idea is called discontinuity. Discontinuity means a sudden major change in how how an ancient civilization worked. Now you can imagine how that might happen, right? A catastrophe, a war, a famine, something like that. But in that old world area of Europe was extreme discontinuity, because before that there was these developing civilizations. You see Vincia, they were developing what looked to me like a complex form of writing, as well as we don't have a lot of study on it. Okay, maybe we can unleash an AI on it and figure out more about it. Varna, if you can see on the coast of Bulgaria there to the east, Cody and I did you do an episode with me on that, Cody?
Yeah, we did. And they were doing incredibly advanced goldsmithing long before, thousands of years before anybody else was. So some very advanced things coming out of old Europe.
Correct. And so whoever's running the ship here, if you would pull up the article, discontinuity and Varna gold comparison, mystery of the Varna gold.
10C.
So what we're seeing here is two separate cultures splintered from each other, likely dozens of cultures all splintered from each other for a variety of reasons, all at the same time, all in the same place. And I contend that most of human history looks exactly like that. And that's why it's so difficult for us to pin down any sort of congruent timeline. If you would scroll up until you see a little necklace here, that's cool. Those are cool. So I just wanted to say, at this Varna site in Bulgaria, they found social stratification. So some people were buried with nothing. Some people, and then there was one dude. It was Pillar 40, or not Pillar 40, Grave 43. He no relation to Pillar 43, I don't think. But this dude had more gold than Jay-Z. And he even had a gold penis sheath. Cody, don't get any ideas.
I want one.
They got pictures of that?
They do have pictures of it. I don't know if it's in this article. It's not in this article.
That's on my East 10 subscriptions. Sorry, bud.
Keep scrolling up till you see the necklace. And that's the site there. Pretty cool. Keep going. Necklace is coming. So they were building these necklaces out of these, I'm going to say this wrong, but spondylus shells, which proves that if you can go back to that old map in your head, that they were trading all around the Mediterranean and making these gold necklaces and of the spondylus shells 4,500 BC and older. But there's this concept of discontinuity that makes it virtually impossible to put the story together from that time. So I'm asking the chat right now, if you know of any other sites in that old Europe area that maybe I just haven't heard of, and it's obvious, like other people have heard of, but I haven't. I'm trying to put together kind of a map of these kind of anomalous sites in the old Europe area. Fellas, what do you think? What do you think of that?
You're one of the few that's been on it, Dave. So good for you. Because it's
well, first of all, archaeologists have been on these for decades. I'm just the only one pointing it out.
Okay, yeah, you're one of the few pointing it out right now, and I do appreciate that because there's, I think, a wide scale belief. At least I was under the impression that around that time in that area, you mostly had hunter-gatherers, right? But that's not hunter-gatherer behavior. That's some pretty advanced shit.
I think, man. Like, what does it take to be considered like a civilization, right? Organization of people and animals, different societies living in together.
They're kicking that ball awfully far at this point.
Yeah, it's getting a loose definition. But I'm curious because you bring up that term discontinuity. And
Indus civilization. The chat is saying Indus civilization.
Yeah,
that's what they're comparing it to.
You bring up discontinuity, and I want to throw that question over to Sam, who's had some experience getting a formal education on this. So from a formal perspective, how much do they teach about that, and how big of a role does that play in like the general understanding, and how much of a factor does that play into their ideas about the general understanding? But the idea of discontinuity and the idea that multiple different isolated cultures were able to advance, but then eventually got slapped in the face with whatever disease, famine, disaster, etc.
Yeah, and I can read you the definition I've got for it if you'd like. It means a sudden major change in how ancient societies, like those linked to the ones we're talking about, the Varna Golden and Vinci cultures, like around 4500 BC. Cultures like that, they sort of disappear, and then all of a sudden we don't know anything about them because of things like war, famine, that kind of thing. And then they just get lost. It's like, okay, these guys were making these. For example, the Varna culture was making 23 karat gold penis sheaths in like 5100 BC. We don't know anything about why or how or anything like that because nobody else was doing that.
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly the type of thing that the type of data intensive, very accurate archaeology of the modern world. This is the type of information that it gives us, but it's certainly understood that this is a thing that happens in different places. I mean, there are well documented archaeologically golden ages, rises and falls of different people in the Americas. You have the Mayan Golden Age, which ends like 1150, no, like 900, 850, 900. You have one of the later mound builder cultures that collapses around 1350. And this is a thing that happens. And different cultures will respond to their physical and human environment and the technology that they have and produce different things as a result of that, and some of it just by chance and what's available to them. I mean, some of the human advancements that we have in the new world compared to the old world are based on the limitations in the animals that they had access to. So having different cultures responding to their environment in different ways and creating different. And in a lot of definitions of culture itself is this. It's dealing with the physical and the human environment. There's going to be massive variations. Of course, it's for certain archaeologists, it seems that their worldview is a little bit more limited, but it's absolutely true that while it would have been more popular in the past, a linear view of technological advance is completely rejected by archaeology today. It's just a matter of how much variation they believe is in it, and if they believe that cultures in the distant past, as in the Ice Age and before, might have existed.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of great points there, and it's it puts me on a bunch of different thought trains about how many different, bottlenecks a culture could experience. You talked about, animal availability. I think about like resource availability too. Like the Incan culture, they were like locked in the Bronze Age just because there was, no iron in the area. So when the Spanish arrived, it was like, hey, what are you going to do against these swords and cannons? But they didn't have that capability necessarily without
Not a
doing
lot,
a bunch of
as it turned out.
more mining. Yeah. So yeah,
what you'll see is them. Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, no, go ahead.
This is a really important point. New cultures coming in contact with other cultures will adopt certain aspects and certain materials from the culture they're meeting, but they won't adopt all of them. Like for example, Algonquin Native Americans, who I have the most experience with doing archaeology, they got copper pots from the English and from the Dutch and the French. But they didn't use these to cook because their culture didn't need pots to cook. They could cook. So they used these copper bits to make arrowheads that had a lot more piercing power and a lot more velocity to them. So they repurposed the materials brought to them within their culture. They also did use guns. They very quickly in the 1600s adopted the use of firearms, but they picked and chose which ones they used, and they left others there. And you can see this where in documentation of some of the wars and skirmishes in the 1600s, like King Philip's and the Pequot War, where parties will attack parties of Native Americans. Algonquins would attack English settlers. They would, and then certain guns would be missing, others would not be missing. Canoes as well. The English adopt canoes that they call Irish canoes, these dugout canoes that the Algonquins called machoons. The English adopt the use of these and often purchase them from the Algonquins because they were better for river travel and they used them. Whereas on the other side, the Algonquins very, very quickly incorporated metal into the designs of their dugout canoes to improve them, but they still kept their core design. They didn't start building four-masted ships. The opposite happened. The English adopted their canoes.
Fascinating. That's fascinating. Yeah, there's always that cultural exchange, but yeah, that's a really great point. That doesn't necessarily happen with like on a one-to-one basis, where it's like, oh, hey, look at this thing, I'm going to use it for that. But it's like, look at this copper pot. I could kill some animals with this thing.
Man, what a club this will be.
Yeah. So if you could imagine the types of cultural fragmentations going on in Eastern Europe around that time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you dropped an AR-15, 15,000 or 1,500 years ago, it would make a really, really nice club for somebody.
Yeah.
They probably think it was magic. They probably think it was, if it was long enough ago, almost anybody would be animistic and they would believe that it had some sort of spiritual power. And they would not have a cultural understanding of how it worked. So they might figure it out eventually, but more than likely, if someone doesn't figure it out very quickly, someone's going to accidentally get hurt and they're not going to understand why. They're not going to understand bullets or velocity or the trigger.
Yeah, but if you have somebody to teach them, they pick it up quick. Those Native Americans sure did.
They would. Yeah, and that's the thing. If you had someone to teach them, they would pick it up quick, and somebody would become king. Who used to be a war leader of 150 would become king of a region. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is going to be a super weird tangent, and I know it's not on the script, but there is a video game coming out. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Jeez Louise, I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is literally that scenario. It's that scenario, and it's a physics engine video game where you're playing. You are a time traveler, and you show up in the medieval times, and you have a Cobra car or a machine gun or a tank, and you are engaging in medieval battles. And it's an upcoming game. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
That's fucking awesome.
No, it's called Kingmakers. It's called Kingmakers. Look it up. The trailers are absolutely insane. It's like the power fantasy of every kid that ever played Age of Empires. So
Age of Empires, most addictive game of all time. I will throw in a rabbit hole quickly. This is really quick. There's a channel that does like video game representations of like, say like a T-1000 Terminator versus like the Roman Empire and stuff like that. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Who won, great. Dave?
The T-1000. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
It just took a really long time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Gave them a lot of credit. Good for them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, let's move on to the next thing here, because one of our other favorite creators, Cody, likes to bring up, and I like to hear stuff from him. Pillars of the Past. He's a great explorer, been doing some awesome stuff. Cody, what do you got from Pillars this week?
Yeah, Raul has been, he's always up to some wonderful stuff, but this video that I've got clipped here, he's highlighting alchemy in stone. You know, you've got the, there's all those geopolymer weirdos, but what I think is more likely is that they were using alchemy to soften the stones. And go ahead and play his clip here, because he gets into some folklore.
Was a little bit more compelling. If you look closely at it enough, you can see a depression here and potentially what looks like the imprints of a foot with toes. Was a little bit more compelling. If you look closely at it enough, you can see a depression here and potentially what looks like the...
It's a short clip. So there's some local legend that he highlights that is specifically about the softening of the stones, and the savior baby was set on the stone, and the foot impression of the child is on the stone, and it's in the church. Story. Yeah, it's actually a pretty cool story, but it does highlight, it touches on very briefly that use of alchemy to soften the stones. And interesting enough, Percy Fawcett also touches on it, which if you'll cue up the next clip, he mentions that in the video. And it's another one of those things that seems to be persisting in their folklore around there.
Is a very similar story to the one Freddie just shared, where an earthenware jar with liquid in it is found, and 10 minutes after it's knocked to the ground, the rock under it is as soft as wet cement, as if the stone had melted. Is a very similar story to the one Freddie just shared.
Okay, so
where an earthenware jar...
That was it, short clip. That's all Percy says about it. He just touches on it and goes that they had found this earthen pot filled with unknown substance, and when they knocked it over, the stone it fell on basically turned to wet cement. So what do you guys think of that? Were they using alchemy to soften the stones? Is that why they look so doughy and how they can fit together so perfectly? Because I don't believe in geopolymer. I said what I said. So go ahead, gentlemen. I'd love to hear some thoughts.
Yeah, let me jump in here because I love going at it with these geopolymer guys. And because I spent a lot of time in Peru, which is, where the hotbed of some of all this alleged natron geopolymer shenanigans are. Here's my big thing comes to this. Like, the ancient people were working with natural materials. They were working with what they could pull out of the ground and then what they could boil, or mix together. It wasn't a lot of stuff. And we know that there's not a lot of things that come out of the ground that have a lot of destructive capability on stone. There's some corrosive chemicals. There's some high potential salts that may have some things, but they're only working with materials that we have available. And in the thousands of years since these stones allegedly existed, nobody's even been able to do it at all. And nobody's able to write down any way to do it at all. Up until you have these, these modern guys, Marcel and all them nowadays that are doing it. So
they did it, man. They totally did it. They figured it out. You're behind.
Yeah. I think there's validity to it, but it's just prove it. That's my only thing. It's I want to see it proven. I want to see it replicated, using the materials they've got, that kind of thing. Because I'm open to the idea. Because in Peru, you see those things. They have at Sacsayhuaman. If you, for those that have been there, you'll know that the stones are bulbous out there, pushing out like marshmallows, as if somebody superheated it and set it down there and pushed it out. So it's very compelling, but we need people to do real work on it, real hard science that's peer reviewed.
What do you think about this like alchemy option though? That's not necessarily a geopolymer. What do you guys think about
What do you mean
that?
by alchemy? Because my understanding was alchemy was just changing one element into another. So
Right. So essentially, he says there is the local folklore says there's some sort of corrosive chemical that they've come up with that softens the stone. Will essentially it'll, you know, what you pour it on will mud up to some degree, as opposed
Can I
to
say
they're
that I'm-
creating it from nothing.
I'll say that I'm open to like a chemical reaction or something.
Right, that's what they're
explaining this
suggesting.
thing, but I don't think anyone's onto anything like that's very convincing to me right now.
I don't see anyone exploring that option in the modern day. Have you guys? Is anybody trying to melt the stone?
no, the geopolymer guys are currently working on like making artificial concrete.
Right.
From at least
Yeah.
from
No,
what I
I
understand.
yeah, and that's not what this theory or the local
Yeah.
legend suggests.
Yeah, but you know that does make me think of one thing. I heard this from one of my shaman friends down in Peru. He was talking about there's this bird. It's called the Andean flicker, and it's like a woodpecker, but it has a saliva that actually does dissolve some of the limestone rocks down there.
Right.
And he
Some
said that
shit
there,
like that.
yeah, he's saying that there are legends of people using that to using the spit from the birds and farming the birds and harvesting their spit to do something with some rocks down there. But he was he was very hesitant to like add validity to this legend that he told me.
Right.
Whereas opposed to like some other things, he was like very certain of like, oh no, hey, this is what the ancestors teach and this is how it was. That one he was like, oh, some people think this. So possible.
Well, so you take like the Amazon that has you know, biodiversity like nowhere else on the planet. And the amount of poisonous things and deadly things and trees and insects and birds, I imagine there's something that they could find that would cause some sort of reaction. They were masters of the universe around them. So I think if anything, if anybody could figure it out, they probably did.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's a great topic. Definitely go look at Pillars of the Past and spend some time thinking about geopolymer and softening stone, because that is a rabbit hole that there is a lot of stuff in. But we're getting close to what we want to be on time here, so we're going to move it on to the next subject. I wanted to get your thought on this, Sam, because I know that you've spent a lot of time researching, you know, both professionally and out of your own curiosity, the Mayans and Aztecs, as well as the Native North Americans. So I found this fascinating channel on YouTube where this guy, his name is, let me read it here, Andrew Colon. He's got the Mysteries of Latin America. He's got a really cool channel, but he has this new video that I'm just going to play you his little short of, that the Aztecs, actually, their legend of where the homeland of their legend originated from was actually in Utah. Hit the play button there, please.
This is wild.
Oh, looks like we missed it.
I rely on Grammarly heavily in my day-to-day life. It helps make my own writing.
Need that
Oh, just hit the skip ad there.
I'm sitting at my desk, reading through comments on my recent
I don't
video
think this
about
one is
Aslat,
it. I think
the
it was the
mythical
short that
homeland
we
of the
just,
people we call
we had there. I need to hit the back button. Oh, we'll get it pulled up here. The interesting thing is there's so this guy Andrew Colon, and he's got a really, really cool channel with the Mysteries of Latin America, while our producer's working on getting this up, where he's been doing a lot of the similar things that I've been doing, running around, investigating ancient mysteries, talking to people, exploring all these sites. And he's got a really well put together channel. It's just something that I just found this week. So definitely take a look at it and take a look at this video, because this is fascinating. Go ahead there.
It didn't come from Mexico at all. And yes, they called themselves the Mexica. Their ancestors spoke of a sacred homeland, a paradise with red stones, 4 sacred rivers, and 7 mysterious caves. For centuries, no one could agree on where it was. But in 1990, 2 researchers said, what if this mythical place isn't so mythical? They found a place with those rivers, with those rocks, with those caves, and rock art that looked eerily familiar. place? It's an island in a large body of salt water, and it's full of herons, like Aztlan. And it's not in Mexico. It's over 1,000 miles away in Utah. Some say it's wild speculation. Some say it checks too many boxes to ignore.
You can just stop there.
What do you believe?
So definitely go check out his full video. He brings up some compelling points. They talk about 4 different aspects that are described in the Aztlan legend from the Aztec civilization. That he says, oh hey, well researchers have found these over in Utah. But really wanted to ask you, Sam, about is like the symbolism that they find in a lot of these North American petroglyphs. And the similarities between the South American petroglyphs. Have you found any? Are you experiencing any of that kind of
South American petroglyphs?
Or sorry, Mesoamerican, Central
okay,
American.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean the Aztecs are from Utah or around it.
They are 100%.
That's not it's a mainstream. It's the Aztecs speak in Uto-Aztecan language, and it was established as a language family by the 1900s. They're related to people that are indigenous to Utah today, and that's been established for over a century. Whereas, as far as a specific place,
you heard it
Utah,
here on Breaking Ancient News. I'm saying, everybody.
Breaking Ancient News, just about 120 years late.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's that's
hot off
where
the
they're
griddle.
from. That's
cool.
That's not controversial.
Awesome. Well, I guess that maybe don't go check out that guy's new channel. I'm just kidding. It's a great channel. He's got a compelling video.
You don't need to if you just watch Breaking Ancient News.
He's talking specifically about Utah, which is like, oh, there's this place, this specific one small location, but the Aztecs come from the southwest of the U.S., northwest of Mexico.
I didn't.
And of course,
know that.
there's
That's
ambiguity
really cool.
in that.
Awesome. Yeah, I honestly did not know that. Learning something new every day, but I guess a quick Google search could have probably provided that for me as well. So,
yeah, I mean, you can Google Uto-Aztecan. The term was coined in 1891.
Yeah, well, definitely do that. Check out this guy's video.
Outtro.
Google that term and see if you can pick apart anything that he's saying there. Because I'm going to do that now. And on the next episode of Breaking Ancient News, maybe we'll have some things that we can dispute him on. But that was Andrew
Homework
Colon
for
with
the
Mysteries
chat.
of Latin America. So pretty cool stuff here. Let's move it on along here. I think we're gonna we're getting close to the end here, but Cody was one of our favorite creators and our good friend of the show, Matt Baell. He has some of the best people on. He's in competition with Dave, although I think Dave's lineup recently has been a little bit better than Matt Baell's in terms of some heavy hitters. Woo!
I'm
Shots
pleading
fired.
the fifth.
Wait,
I'm not.
hey, guys.
I'm not commenting on anybody's.
I got to say one thing though before we move on from that. I just had to confirm that this is true.
Where'd you go?
You know, Utah gets its name from the Ute tribe.
Yep.
And the language family that the Aztecs are in is called the Uto-Aztecan language family, and it literally has the same root.
The same root language as the Ute, whatever language the Utes spoke or speak.
That's pretty
cool.
amazing.
It's called the Uto-Aztecan, and both Uto in Uto-Aztecan and Utah get their name from the Utes. So yes, it's been established forever that that's where they're from.
That is cool. Awesome. Well, Aztecs are from Utah. The ancient Mormons moved down there. So
or around Utah. To be clear.
Awesome. Well, as I was saying, thanks for that comment there, Sam. I appreciate it. But as I was saying there, one of our other favorite producers or creators, Matt Baell, he had on Derek Olson from Megalithic Marvels, not to be confused with Megalithic Mystery, which is possibly a far superior channel. But Derek Olson over at Megalithic Marvels talking about some awesome stuff that I love hearing about. Let's send it over to Cody.
Yeah, he was on with Matt, and he covered one of the topics that's always near and dear to my heart, the elongated skull people. So if we could cue up that first clip, go ahead and roll that.
The left, there was normal skulls too. I've lit this photo up to the max, and we even had flashlights shining on it. The point is, the room was so dark, you could barely see the skulls. and it was thrown in with these others, which I thought was very interesting. How 2017 it was on full display in the center, lights on it, and now it's kind of like there's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Luckily, thank God, we were able to take lots of photo and video. On the left, there was normal skulls too. I've lit this photo up to the max, and we even had flashlights shining on it. The point.
You know, I used my opportunity on Limitless to mention the elongated skull people. He's pointing out the fact that there is a cover-up now that there seems to be a wider awareness about the elongated skull people. There seems to be an active desire from the museums to either remove them completely from display or to make them as out of the way and unviewable as possible. So, I don't know. Maybe it's the attention people like myself and him, and of course the OG of the field, Brian Forster, have been bringing to it. But I don't know. There does seem to be some sort of a hush-hush going on about it. So go ahead and pull up the next clip because he's talking about the red-headed giants, Aaron's ancestors. And
well, let me ask you one question before we get on to the next one. I want to ask you, Cody, because you've been spending a lot of time researching these elongated
I have a question
skulls.
for Cody too. Sorry, after you.
Yes, we'll get two questions there.
Step into the classroom, gentlemen.
For you specifically, though, do you believe that this is the elongated skulls a result of a genetic anomaly or intentional body modification, or aliens?
I'm going to go a fourth option you didn't even mention. They are a hominid that is a subspecies of hominid, is what I think.
Whoa, getting real out there. I love it.
There seems to be genetic traits that are consistent between far too many samples for it to be anomalous. Dave, what you got?
Did you not say on Matt Baell Limitless that it was aliens?
I said maybe it could be because I was being spicy, Dave. God damn it. Let me.
I swear to God you did. I'm just saying. I wanted to be
said
aliens.
Brian thinks it is. I said Brian thinks it is. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Cody,
you know what's interesting?
Aliens.
It could be aliens, buddy. You can believe it's aliens.
On my initial tour down to Peru, I went with Brian Forrester, and we stopped by one of these elongated skull places in the town of Andahuaylas, and on our tour we had a extremely well published pediatrician with us, and he did an examination of the skulls, like as much as he could, because they were child skulls, these elongated child skulls, and his conclusion was this could almost definitely be 100% human. Was his conclusion, which Brian
I think most of them are.
Brian did not post that video to YouTube.
Yeah, probably not. No, I think most of them are. I think there's probably very few examples that are natural. Mm-hmm. And there are genetic traits that are identifiable in the natural ones. And I pointed them all out on Limitless. Derek pointed them all out. Brian pointed them all out. And I mean, they're indisputable. They are consistent among what I'm no scientist, but I mean, goddamn, at a certain point, there is a lot of examples for it to be anomalous. It's not really anomalous. It's a pattern, right? Sure. So just from a strictly scientific perspective, at a certain point, a large enough sample size is indicative of a pattern.
Awesome. Anyway, great point.
Let's hear about your grandpappies.
My people.
Yeah.
Utes of northern Nevada had this legend that in the ancient bygone age, they went to war against this ferocious tribe of red-haired cannibalistic giants known as the Sitika. And so I actually went out there.
Aaron needs people.
I was living in California at the time and took a buddy who was open-minded but didn't know much about the alternative views of history. There's some drone shots I got of the cave and then me inside it. We go out to
that's the entrance to Lovelock Cave on the left?
Yeah. That's the cave. It's this big limestone outcropping.
Pretty coolly, actually.
It's a lot higher than it looks, you know. But you feel like you're on Mars out here in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. It's otherworldly. So according to the legend, let me share that first. The Paiutes were being ravaged by this cannibalistic Paiutes of northern Nevada.
Okay, so Aaron, let me ask you first, how do you feel about people denying your ancestors' existence?
Well, first of all, we've got Sam here he's got some red in his beard. So we're counting him as two gingers.
Weigh in on this, please, sir.
I don't know, Sam. How tall are you, though, Sam? I'm 6'4", so that's why they call me a giant.
Yeah, he's literally a Nephilim, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of funny that you see these stories about these redheaded.
By the way,
what's that?
A40s, by the way.
Yeah,
straight from Hyperborea.
There we go. That's what I like to see. Yeah, but there's a lot of these stories about redheaded giants all over the place that pop up. It's not just in the North American culture; it's in South American culture too. The Viracocha people in Peru were said to be large and tall with red hair. So I'm the anomaly. I popped up here, the milkman's kid or something like that.
Because we will clip this, and I'll be able to insert the meme when we edit and post. I would like to point out that your people were treated a lot better in South America than they were in North America. The legends in North America do not hold redheads in favor. South America, definitely pretty high regard. So I don't know what that's all about.
They say that gingers don't have souls, so you don't have to worry about moral issues like going to heaven or hell. So you can feel free to eat people. It's all great.
South America was like, you want some hearts? That's fine. Yeah. We'll give you some.
That's great. But on those stories of giants, Dave's got a giant story about the giants of the mound builder people. Let's hear about that, Dave. What do you got for us?
I actually think that's Cody.
That is me. Yeah,
is that Cody too? Oh,
that's wartime stories. And he doesn't always
awesome channel.
Yes.
Wartime stories.
He doesn't always more than not he does, but he doesn't always bring a bunch of sauce to the table. He is more for the story. But in this instance, he actually went out and he cited some very specific news articles. And I had never heard of these myself. And I've wrote an article on the topic of giants. So to have not come across this in my own research, I was pretty impressed with. And with Derek's video recently on Limitless, I wanted to highlight this here because this was 3 weeks ago, pretty fresh.
1899 in Hamilton, Ohio. The story titled Full Description of the Skeleton Found at Miamisburg. A skeleton measured at 8 feet 1.5 inches was found buried in a sitting position with the skull drooped between the knees. It was uncovered in the Miami Valley by 2 men, an area where it was apparently common to find relics of what the article refers to as mound builders. The article goes into detail discussing the anthropological comparisons that were being made between this large fossilized skeleton and Pithecanthropus erectus discovered by Dr. Dubois in Java. Then there's page 3 of the Northern Arizona paper, the Prescott Journal Minor, published on February 11th, 1913, a few years after the Santa Monica Beach discovery. Ancient burying ground uncovered. Skeletons found indicate that race of giants once lived on banks of 1899.
Okay, so we all know Dr. Greg Little, right? We know, love, and adore Dr. Greg Little. What a gem he is to everybody and the X community as a whole. But one thing I have learned from him is the mound builders very specifically buried their dead in that fetal position back to back, and they would continue to kind of bury off of that, right? But the original center of the mound was like 2 people back to back, and that's it would start from there. So I thought the age of this article, for them to mention that detail of how these giants were buried, I don't think that would be a faked detail,
right? That's an oddly specific detail for them to point out that I don't think at that time would have been widely known. At this time, it's certainly not widely known. Back then, I think it would have been more obscure. So,
Well,
interesting.
let's ask Sam here. You've got more experience in dealing with the North American peoples. Did the giants ever come across your radar in your studies?
No, not at all.
Nope.
Also, I don't know much about mound builders. It's all Algonquins for me, and I have, if there is anything about giants, I haven't seen it.
Give us some off the cuff, Sam. We want some bullshit here. What do you think about giants? Were they walking around at some point as a hominid?
They're from Newfoundland.
Yeah,
Newfoundland.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you
there
what,
was Newfoundland.
If you take any person from Northern Europe and you throw them down in the South America, they would be giants. Especially
hell,
1,500 years ago. 6 foot tall versus 4.5 feet tall.
And the Inuit are very
Yeah.
short, and that's actually where it's where the legends of Santa's elves come. There was actually one very fat giant from Newfoundland who grabbed a bunch of Inuits, and he started the North Pole. It wasn't the North Pole. They thought it was the North Pole at the time because they didn't know about the real North Pole, but it was really just Newfoundland.
Are you just fucking yanking our chain right now?
It's like the reverse
I just
Santa.
said all of that when he
I
told
did
me to
ask
make-
him to do that
to
be
make
fair.
it up, and
was
I
like,
did
we
it.
just
I
want
made
some
it up.
bullshit.
Oh, good.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, that's great. Follow Wartime Stories. I
Yeah,
think
he
we're going to
really
have
is
to
great.
bump our quickie section. We had some articles we were going to go through, but I want to make sure that
They'll
we
be
focus
linked
some
down
time
below.
on them. Is that all right with you boys? And we kind of head over to
you
Twitter
can bump
drama.
mine. Yeah.
1 second.
Dave, that's
Or is
we
there
would
any
like to highlight
any
yours.
hot ones that you wanted to get there, Dave?
Mine
real
were not
quick.
super hot, but there is some interesting stuff about the Aztecs and Teotihuacan.
Yeah.
Real
and
quick,
it's
just pull up
linked,
the ancient
so
origin ones, and then we'll move
check
on. I
the
won't take long, I
description
promise.
below.
16B. Is that what you're talking about?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah, 16B, 9,000-year-old tools.
Yeah, and this is in Norway, and I mean it calls the tools quote advanced, which again get into pedantics, but I just wanted to mention
Pretty advanced in my book.
yeah, I mean it's pretty advanced, and it's 9,000 years old, and it's in Norway, so it's just my shit keeps getting older in the Europe area type way, but this doesn't count as old Europe, like I mentioned, but I just thought it was interesting. And this guy is always doing good work. He has a website where he does articles like this, and he has a pretty good, cool X as well. He has a YouTube channel, and so that's just my quick hitter on that. And then I wanted to also mention that because I forgot, I didn't get to about the Vincia writing. It's the point is that they categorized it as proto writing. So then we start getting into the pedantics of what's considered writing and what's not,
Really
and what's
splitting
considered
hairs.
script and what's considered not. And they've decided that this is like pre-cuneiform proto writing. So I forgot to say that.
I don't understand the hesitance. Why not? Why is it a bad thing to be like we
it's
thought?
because you can't. There's no continuity. That's where the discontinuity
okay,
comes from.
yeah,
And I didn't
that's
mean
true.
to tell you, if you have like one fragment over here
Yeah.
and one fragment over there, and they have different stuff, there's no you can't put it all together.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
true.
mean, it's hard to make a language out of it. Is the point? But I have a feeling that as we start digging, because Varna got discovered in a parking lot. The Vincia stuff got discovered. Somebody building they're building a parking lot. One was building an apartment building, right?
Yeah.
This is how this shit gets discovered.
It keeps on getting older. We love that saying from Grant Hancock. Shit keeps getting on older. Is it stuff keeps getting older or
Things
shit?
keep getting older, I think. Graham's way too much of an elegant gentleman. We know he's above that.
Well, maybe we'll have to steal his idea and brand some shirts that say "shit keeps getting older," and I'll start selling those. But don't worry, Graham, I'll give you a cutback, or I'll just use it to go on like one of your tours or something like that. That way you get
Subscribe
money out of
to
it.
the channel for links to come.
Yeah. Well, finally up here, let's get into some of the Twitter stuff. Producer Sam, if you would pull up for us 17A, we just wanted to highlight a couple of things that's been happening. Jay Anderson, one of the best follows on Twitter. He's got like 250,000 followers. He was he showed this this epic concert that was happening at the Great Pyramid, where they had the whole thing lit up. They had screens going across and lasers and all sorts of crazy shit. Play this video.
Is that disrespectful or what? I can't. It looks lit as all fucking hell, but it's disrespectful.
They were doing the same thing, and that's Luke points
were.
that out a lot. That like the little vases were probably for drugs. They were walking around tripping all the fucking balls, just getting lit.
No.
No.
They weren't doing Molly and rape.
The lotus flower was probably pretty lit, dude.
But,
the blue lotus.
There were rituals like ayahuasca today. There were rituals associated with these hallucinogenic substances. They were not being used recreationally ever.
You don't think they ever did recreational drugs?
I think no, they did, and people do, but not like the finds of like fortified wine with hallucinogens is not evidence of them being used recreationally.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, and especially down in the Andes Mountains regions. It's traditionally and from the spiritual standpoint, it's always been a medicine for them, not a drug. They don't even count it as a drug. It's
medicine.
Yeah, it's medicine.
Right.
Yeah, but dude, I'll tell you what though. Wasn't it last week we were talking about that guy who's on Lex Friedman, and they had found remnants of beer brewing at Gobekli Tepe, and his theory was that like Gobekli Tepe was like the Playboy party mansion, so all these different cultures could come and intermingle their DNA and not get stuck with genetic anomalies. So
Kinky
maybe there's some
Cavemen.
of that
Everybody
going on.
needs to watch my video, Kinky Cavemen. They
Cavemen,
were
rave
meeting
men.
up. Yes, they were meeting up, getting nasty in the pasty, swapping genetic material.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like we've given enough love and shout out to these geopolymer folks today. So even though they were harassing Dan Richards on Twitter, we're gonna leave them alone and skip that because we need to cut the show short here. But I wanted to give a big shout out and a big thanks to everybody that's watching on the live stream right now. We got a lot of people jumping in and commenting. Those comments aren't going to count. If you want this hat, you got to wait to the video post, wait till we're all done, and then drop a comment. Comment with the top likes, the most likes. Every single week, you're going to get this hat. But I want to, and on that note, we want to pull up our contest winners from, or our contest winner from last week. So producer Sam, if you could pull us up 18A, we're going to start an order. We're going to do the top 3 comments from each video. We're going to read these off and show everybody the fun stuff and the fun things that people are saying. And these are just going to get better and better and better with more likes and more comments each week. So it's going to be super fun stuff. But the third place comment here, this is kind of tiny for me. Is we've got Sahara Cosmos. She said, love the thumbnail, y'all, with 5 likes. Appreciate it, Sahara Cosmos. You're one of our big fans. We love having you.
Shout out Sarah of Universe Unveiled. Check out her podcast, by the way, Universe Unveiled.
Yeah. Comment number 2. I'm very glad this comment didn't win because I know where the guy is that would have won it. Martin Stroud. He's over in Thailand, but this is from So he said, great talk. Love this channel's concept, but geopolymer with acid is nonsense. If I win a hat, send it to your boy Martin. Keep at it, fellas. So I'm glad that didn't win because I know that Martin is in Thailand right now. So again, I don't want to have to ship these places, but I will because I love you guys and because I know you guys love us. But let's pull up our number 1 comment, the winner of the comment contest for last week's episode. Who do we have here? Because I can't remember. This looks like this is at 757. So whoever you are at 757, we're going to send you a message. Send us up at megalithic.mystery@gmail.com. But it said, missed the live, but here for episode 7. The content, again, intriguing for matters on 3i Atlas. Randall Carlson episodes are loaded with top-notch quality content. So as always, thanks so much for participating in the comment contest. We're going to mail you out a free hat. It's going to be autographed. It's going to be signed. It is not worth anything, but it will be someday when I'm more famous than my zero famousness right now. But thanks for everybody that's participating.
The sky is the limit, baby.
Yeah. Big shout out to the two Sams on the show. That it's our first time on the show. First of all, our producer Sam is in the background. She's been pulling up stuff. She's been doing a great job. It looks like it got running smooth like butter. So shout out, Sam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And big other shout out to Sam Urban, our first guest on Breaking Ancient News. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, bud.
Sam, where can everybody find you, and where can they learn about you?
First, only find me if you know that the Judeo-Christian God is not and never has been seen.
There we go.
But if that is you, if you're aware of that, regardless of what religion, you can be whatever religion you want. Judaist, Jew. Gosh, it's been a long night. You can be Jewish, you can be Christian, you can be Muslim, you can be Buddhist, whatever. Just know that Judaism and Christianity do not share a God. That's crazy. I don't know where the heck that came
Luke Caverns, we're getting called out for that.
I'm sorry, Luke. I wasn't trying to pick on you. It just shocked me because it is a regional thing. This is not a Catholic thing. ill_scholar on Twitter, Illegitimate Scholar on YouTube.
Awesome. Great channel. Lots of engaging content that's packed full of information. And also he's got one of the best interviews with Graham Hancock, where you really see a personal, intimate aspect of Graham that it's not really captured in a lot of the interviews that he does, that it seemed, a lot more shallow and surface level. So Sam does a really good job of capturing that. Dave, where can everybody find you?
You can find us, my partner in crime, Mike, and my producer, Brittany, at Mike Dave's Multiverse on YouTube. I believe it's the same thing. I think it's at Mike Dave's Multi on X. Pretty easy to find. Just Google Mike and Dave's Multiverse. You can also find our link tree that way. We've got a live stream with Bill or William Schwant talking about some quantum physics and some electric universe stuff coming up on Thursday. And on Friday, I got an episode called the Stone Nub Language. I talked to a dude who is working on deciphering a language based on stone nubs. So
cool.
Check it out.
Very cool.
Awesome. And Cody, you got any last messages for us? Last words to send us off here?
Yeah, you can find me at East 10 Outpost on X on YouTube. I try and post content weekly, but every other week, sometimes at the longest. And gentlemen, as always, it was wonderful to be on with you. Thank you for everybody who was in the chat and gracious enough to share us out. So we appreciate you. We love you. Stay curious. And
thank you, chat.
Yeah.
We'll love you guys. We're going to end it on that high note. Stay awesome. Have a great rest of your